Håfa Adai,
Guahusi Francesca,
and Guahusi Cami.
Welcome to From Our Nånas for Our Nenis.
In this series, we will learn about all the ways we can take part in a food sovereign and food secure future.
From learning about how to grow our own food, cook with local produce, and support the farmers who feed our island.
It's going to be a fun journey. Join us as we explore the island, try new recipes, make mistakes, and learn about how we can all be a part of a more sustainable future. We're going to try our best to gain as much knowledge as we can from our Nånas for our Nenis.
My relationship with food was one where when I was growing up, it was just whatever people fed me. So it was a lot of canned meat, corned beef, spam. And it wasn't until I turned 16 when I started to really consider the impact that food had on my health.
I really just started thinking about it seriously when quarantine started. I'm in that beginning part where you were at when you were 16, where I'm like, okay, this needs to be something that I do from the inside so that on the outside it translates.
Yeah. The first time we volunteered was the week before we started filming. After that, Cami and I went to SKC to give out and bag produce the week before we went there to film.
My name is Kristen Oberiano. I am the Secretary of Gohan Sustainable Culture, also known as GSC, and we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to environmental sustainability, food security, and food sovereignty on Guam. So GSC was founded in January of 2019 by my mom, Marlon Oberiano, and her friend, Michelle Crisosimo. We created GSC as a way to provide educational workshops to the public, and they focus on environmental sustainable methods, including hydroponics, microgreens, and even aquaponic ideas and methods. So GSC's overall mission is three-pronged. It's to educate, to cultivate, and to nourish. So the first aspect is to educate, and that is alongside the workshops that GSC has providing since its founding in 2019. And during the workshops, GSC teaches the public about how to do different ways of farming and agriculture in their own backyard and even within their homes, and to share that idea so that people can have access to fresh, local, and healthy foods that they grow themselves. Just in this past 3 months or so during the COVID-19 pandemic, GSC has been doing a lot of work through our Supporting Farmers, Sustaining Families initiative, in which we purchase produce from our local farmers and then donate that produce to families who need it most. What GSC believes this will help do is to give farmers a chance to recuperate from the losses from the hotel and restaurant industries and that decline, as well as provide a way for the expansion of local agriculture in Guam. Another aspect of supporting farmers sustaining families is to make sure that people on Guam have access to local, fresh, and healthy food, even in this pandemic, but also so that they can get to know the farmers and to have a reliable source of vegetables.
And I'm back from Gohan Sustainable with my bag of produce right here, ready to show you guys exactly what we packed into everybody's basic bag and what I'm gonna take home and show you how to cook with. So let's get started. Vegetable number one in question, kangkong. Kangkong grows kind of like wild here, and you can cook with the stems and the leaves, and it's a beautiful, nice leafy dark green. So after the kangkong, we have some wing beans. They trellis. So the way they grow is they climb up a structure or another plant, and then these little beans hang down. If you cook them in like a stew or something, they add a nice little change in texture, a nice little crunch. And then we also have amagosu, or bitter melon, which is a childhood not favorite of mine. It is very bitter, as the name suggests. Next up, we have some green beans, some string beans, the dark variety as well as the purple variety, which I'm excited about because I have not seen these purple string beans in a long time, but I remember them from when I was really little, but I don't remember eating them, so I'm really excited. Some eggplants, which are not egg-shaped. These are some funky, skinny eggplant. I love eggplant in anything from an omelette to a soup to a stew. Or biringanas, which is the Chamorro traditional way to eat these. grilled and then marinated in some coconut milk. These are chota, or cooking bananas. A little bit more starchy. You want to like compare them to a plantain rather than a banana. We love some chota. A cucumber. Cucumbers grow really well on Guam. I think they're available year-round. In case you're wondering about any of these vegetables, I will put in the description box the handout that we provided inside the cookbook about each vegetable that grows here locally, and as well as the seasons they are available. And moving on, we also have some alligator or avocados. So these are also in season right now. Hallelujah, we love some avocado. I do really want to pair it with this basil. So this is fresh basil. It smells so good. Oh, I love the smell of basil. Fresh basil is really a game changer for really simple recipes like salads. If you just throw in a little bit of chopped fresh basil, it'll completely enliven the food that you're making. Speaking of flavorful and enlivening little greens, we have these microgreens. So these are from Gohan Sustainable themselves. Before they started doing these food bags, they were teaching the public how to grow microgreens at home. Next, we have my mango. We have one mango. I know that if you ordered a fruit bag, you would have gotten like a mango, a pineapple, and dragon fruit. The last of the big guys we have is a lemai. So this is a breadfruit. This is traditionally grown and eaten throughout Oceania, not just Micronesia, as well as in Southeast Asia. Last but not least, we had a little bag that we already separated into different bowls filled with calamansi and peppers. So what was really cool about the basics bag is that it came with 3 different types of peppers. If you are a pepper lover like I am, is really exciting. So we have the traditional donisali, which are small little peppers, what you would traditionally find in like a denansi. These are big guys. I think this might be a Thai chili pepper. And then we have a ghost pepper. I'm a little scared, but I heard that it has a nice smoky flavor. Make something like a fajita, or maybe even just a taco with some of the other wonderful produce that I've gotten. So for breakfast today, I'm having a little chota smoothie, or an aga smoothie if you have aga. Fruit is the best for me to have in the morning because it doesn't really, it helps my digestive system get going. So for the ingredients in the smoothie, I'm just using chota, and then I'm gonna supplement with coconut milk, and then a handful of almonds, and some maca and ashwagandha powder. These are totally optional. I really like to put my supplements in my food first thing in the morning so I don't have to think about it later on. So I'll go ahead and pop that all in the blender, get that going, and then breakfast will be served. Cheers! I ended up adding a few things to this. I put some frozen bananas just to make it a little bit more like a smoothie. You could also just use ice. And I also ended up putting a little bit of almond milk to make it a little thinner. Hopefully Cami is coming up with some really fun recipes. I can't wait to see what she has going on. This is a really fun experiment so far.
So I'm actually super happy because in the cookbook, I was flipping through it and I found a way to make sure that I eat the bitter melon in the farm fresh produce bag, and it is pickled. Whenever I pickle anything, I always just reuse any jars that I have in my house. It has the amagosu in it, and it also has some of the doni from Paloma Farms. In the first farm fresh produce bag I've ever gotten, my mom did the same thing, and she said that it was really good, and I wanted to try to do something similar. I always say this, but amagosu is something that I would always just skip if I see it at the table. It's forced me to try something out of the box, which is really awesome. Because I had a lot more doni, where'd it go? My mom came up with the greatest idea. We made our own little Tabasco. And this is a reusable peanut butter jar. You can see the ghost pepper in there, and all of the doni we've accumulated from Paloma Farms. It's just vinegar, sugar, salt to taste, and I'm really impressed with how it tastes. It's like Tabasco, but so much more pica, but it still has that zing in it, and I'm really proud of it. I'm super excited for today's recipe. I have 2 ingredients that come straight from the farm fresh produce bag. These are actually grown in my backyard. So we have green onions from my backyard, farm fresh produce bag. I actually got honey from, well, I bought it at Håfa in Tumaning. It's grown locally here. Other ingredients I have are ginger, garlic, and carrots. It's basically a stir fry, which is super easy when my greens are wilting and I don't really know what to do with them and I just want something super quick but really tasty. So let's get to cooking. So one thing I learned that is pretty helpful is that when chopping and preparing your beans, it's actually super helpful to smash them. I'm gonna use a coconut can to just run through them. So I just took the liberty of preparing both my veggies off camera. So the idea for this recipe actually came from my gumma. By the way, I'm just shaving down the sides of this carrot. The idea for this is basically to just gisa all the veggies that you have. Just remembering how my gumma cooks for us, she's always very resourceful and she had a lot of sweetness in her cooking. I actually learn a lot from my grandma in the kitchen. I think it's the one place that she feels most comfortable. Sometimes she won't even tell me what we're doing. She'll just be like, come here, Fan, and then she'll just all of a sudden start cooking something. It's probably one of my favorite ways to bond with her. I have my carrots here. This is a rough chop and these are minced, so I'm just gonna do that really quickly off camera. And don't forget to compost. Make sure you start composting your food waste because there's a lot of it that comes out of even just one meal. And especially if you're planting your own produce, it's just so helpful, especially if you're trying to grow stuff on your own. I'm just gonna start by adding my minced ginger. Mix that in there, get that started. I'm gonna start adding the garlic. So this is how it looks like right now. So I think now I can add the green beans. Those are gonna be really nice in there. Okay. Now I'm just adding in the 2 other ingredients. Now I'm just gonna let this sit in the wok for a bit. All right, now the ingredient I'm super excited about is the local honey. I just got the original flavor, of course, but they have other flavors. Just gonna add some sweetness, add some soy sauce. All right, it's just about done, and I'm just gonna add some black pepper to the top. I'm gonna stir it around and plate it. All right, now I'm just squeezing my calamansi on there, adding the green onion, and voila. I have nothing else to say, but I'm gonna eat this now.
And I'm back! I'm gonna make some Tanaktak, a bunch of veggies from the Gohan Sustainable bag, and we also have some baby cabbage or some Brussels sprouts. Of course, you need your staples, your garlic, your onions, your lemon, and your coconut milk. Just because I'm gonna be feeding some meat eaters, I'm gonna throw in some Beyond Beef. You don't have to use this. I think it's perfectly fine to just use veggies. So we're starting off by chopping our veggies maybe like 1 inch to 1.5 inches long. And then another thing that you can do while you're prepping your veggies is to cut your eggplant and then soak it in some salted water. That was a tip that I learned from Auntie Hope of Hope Farms. Coconut oil in the pan. And we're gonna throw in some chopped onions and garlic. Get that going. Probably do like 5 cloves of garlic. And while that's going, just go ahead and chop your cigadizas, your wing beans. So I'm gonna season the onions, a little bit of black pepper, a little bit of salt. So at this point you can add in your plant-based meat if you have it. Of course, you can always forego that step and just go straight into sauteing your veggies. And just let that go until it looks something like ground beef. Now that it's nice and brown, we're gonna go ahead and add the Brussels sprouts first. Oops. The baby cabbages going in. So just put some of the green, I keep calling them green beans. They're string beans, and they come in many colors. So that's going in with the sigadiza. So a little addition to the recipe is a can of stewed tomatoes. Normally I would recommend you use fresh tomatoes, but we don't have that, so we're making do. And now we're gonna go ahead and do the coconut milk. I think 1 can should be good enough. I had a really good experience cooking with the food and volunteering with Guam Sustainable. It's something that I've been doing for a number of years, but how did you feel cooking with the produce?
I liked reflected on my eating habits and even like the way that I utilized the different parts of produce. I experimented, which was great, and I didn't stay in the bubble that I keep myself in, so that's how I felt it was like successful.
So I'm excited about the next part of our series. We're gonna go deeper into the food systems on Guam and personally visit with some home farms, small scale farms, and community gardens to see how local produce is grown here. And I think it's gonna be really exciting. There's gonna be a lot more to learn for both of us. Adios.